Hi there, and we're so happy to have you. This is our podcast, Welcome to Livingston, and I'm Angela Putkela,
And I'm Don Putkela.
and here for episode 5, we have some awesome guests that we're looking forward to speaking to. We'll have Ken Balazovich and Diane Castillo, who are both from the Brighton Center for the Performing Arts.
Yeah, we're just really excited about having them in today. We've gone to an event or two there, and it's just really exciting to be able to sit down and talk to you guys about the Brighton Center for the Performing Arts and what you guys have coming up.
So welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. So great. So to get started, tell us more about the center.
Well, we just celebrated our 25th anniversary in 2019.
Congratulations.
And the center was started with a bond. So this center is not just a high school theater, it is also a community theater. So we are expected to, because of its bond nature, we're expected to bring different acts, and we bring in professional acts from everywhere to people like you that can come to the theater and just buy tickets, and just like you would if you were to go downtown Detroit and see a show.
Well, it is a beautiful theater, and it's, I don't know for sure, but it's probably one of, if not the largest venue in Livingston County in terms of coming in to see a show.
Absolutely. We have 900 seats.
Okay.
Fantastic. That's huge. And we should ask which roles you guys play, so that way I know in terms of the job titles you do the marketing, but what's your title then, Diane?
Yeah, so I do the programming and the marketing, bringing in the shows as well as trying to market those shows out to the community. And Ken?
And I'm the director of the theater, which means that I take care of all the technical aspects of the theater. I maintain the theater. Whenever artists come in or school events come in, I help them put together the kind of program that's in their head. So we have a very large amount of equipment that I can help them use. We have technical staff that I train as well as manage. And then any troubleshooting in the building, any maintenance that has to be done, that's my role.
Wow.
Fantastic. Wow.
And that has to just be an interesting and fascinating job because you have so many different types of acts that are coming in, and I assume that they all have their own special set of needs from you then.
We have everything from individual, say a political speaker or a board member who will come in and speak to a group of community members, a fairly simple event with one microphone and just some white light, all the way up to road shows where they'll bring in a whole truckload or a couple of truckloads of equipment, plus they'll have a touring bus. We set up a very large amount of things for them, a lot of microphones, a lot of lighting, many cues, that sort of thing. Sometimes it's an event that'll go on for days or up to a week. Sometimes it's just a one-day event. As Diane said, we have things that are school events, but also events that have groups coming in from all over the world. So it can be very exciting, can be very demanding, but it certainly is fun working in that place.
Wow. And I know you guys have had quite a few interesting acts in the past. We saw John Tesh when he came in, which was pretty exciting.
John Tesh actually signed our 9-foot grand Steinway piano.
Wow.
So that was, so we have a remembrance of him coming in, but also people like Marshall Tucker Band has come in. Charlie Daniels Band came in, award-winning people like those. And when they come in to our theater, they act as though it's somewhere large like Homerica Park. It's not an enormous place. They're used to playing in enormous places, but they act as though it is. And so they put on a full show whenever they come in. Amy Grant came in very recently, and it was just a few years ago. She came in. Just this past weekend, we had Second City Comedy Club come in. Second City has been around a very long time, and they were the forerunner to a lot of the stuff that goes on Saturday Night Live. So right. John Belushi, John Candy, all of those sorts of, Dan Aykroyd, those people all came through Second City. So when they came in, they put on quite a nice show. So yes, it can be very interesting with all these very, very fine people that come in, and they're in our community, so we don't have to drive an hour and spend $150 on a ticket.
Right.
The tickets are very reasonable, as Diane would tell you. They're very reasonable for the events. You can get right on top of the events with a nice close seat, and you get just the same show you would if it was in a very large venue.
Right. And I think one of the great things is, like you said, it's right here in the community. If I'm going down to Comerica or to DTE, it's that, 45-minute drive there. Here I can, catch a dinner downtown, have it right there, and I'm home 10 minutes after the show is over. So it's just such a wonderful opportunity.
And for quality entertainment too, because those are big names.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what we love about it. We really try to bring in top-notch quality people, events, and we get some great feedback from the public on the people that we bring in.
excellent.
And you guys have some great shows coming in this year. Did you want to talk a little bit about either how you schedule those or what you have coming in?
Well, we have the Moxie Strings coming up in less than 2 weeks here.
October 1st.
And they are a fantastic duo. They're very knowledgeable about string instruments. And one thing that we try to do in our theater that might be unique is have educational elements where they'll come in and teach our students for an hour or 2 hours during the daytime, and then we set up for an evening performance. And that is really part of our mission, to make sure that we bring education into as many of the shows that we bring in as possible. And we find our acts in many different ways. It might be a suggestion from the community, from our board. It might be somebody that we've seen that we just are super excited to bring in. Or I'll have agents contact me and say, hey, we've got this great show coming. We'd love to route to you. So there's a multitude of ways that we find out about acts. But I'm always willing to hear somebody say, I'd love if you brought so-and-so in. And we're like, okay, sure, let me put it on the list. And because our theater is so busy, we can't bring in as many as we want, but we try and get as much quality as we can.
Not only quality, but diversity. So we try not to, so we wouldn't bring in 5 Emmy-winning award-winning bands, for example. We wouldn't bring in 5 individual singers, nothing like that. We want to have a variety of shows. So just last weekend, we had the comedy show. We have Moxie Strings coming in, which is, as Diane said, they're a wonderful duo, and they play classical instruments that are electrified in a unique way. They've been at the Ann Arbor Art Fair and a couple of other places, so we have that kind of unique element. We have the Holiday Pops, which is the Michigan Philharmonic Orchestra coming in. Outrageous is coming in. Outrageous is coming in next April. And they have a show that's geared to just about anybody. You could be 100 or 4 and just love it. It's dancing, singing, art that's constructed right on site. And I won't spill the beans on all of that. But, so it's kind of a combinational element. So we try to get enough things for everybody in the community to enjoy at least one, if not all.
Right.
And we can't forget about 3 Men and a Tenor.
Oh,
these poor guys have been rescheduled multiple times because of COVID. And we're super excited that they're finally scheduled for November.
Yay.
That is awesome.
So
And
what's the dates for that?
November 19th.
okay.
and they're an opera. So if you can imagine opera/comedy at the same time, then you need to buy some tickets and hear these guys. They're fantastic voices, but also they bring an element in that is very unusual compared to other operas I've worked. So
Okay.
check that out.
Great. So very entertaining. And there are tickets still available?
Absolutely.
Good at that?
We have tickets available for each of our shows.
Right. And I know you have a show coming up this weekend that we're actually taking our kids to. So we're excited about seeing The Wizard of Oz this weekend.
Yes, that's that we actually start with the rehearsals with them on Wednesday. They're a new renter, and so we get a lot of rental companies like them in. This is a professional company. They rent our theater. They bring in all of their own things, so they could bring in their own props, set pieces, their own cast, some of their own technical people to run things, but we also assist them with allowing their vision and their pieces to be used in our theater space. And so they're going to come in and they're going to do Wizard of Oz, but I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think it's going to be a fun Wizard of Oz. So, and it's a musical as opposed to a play. So yes, I think you're going to have a great time with your family.
Great. That'll be really fun. And just the tickets were so affordable, $20. I mean, per person, obviously a little bit more than going to the movies, but for actual real live in-person events, I mean, to take them down to the Fisher or someplace like that would just cost an arm and a leg for several kids. But,
Right.
at least this way, it's very affordable and close by.
Well, you mentioned the K word, kids. We really, I at least, but I think both of us really love to have kids in the theater. Culture is extremely important, and I think it has to stem from family as well as community. And so to bring in events, as I mentioned, Outrageous and others, bring events where kids can experience things like symphony, opera, comedy, plays, musicals, those sorts of things. as well as events that they'll participate in. So we have school events where the middle schools, the grade schools, the high schools will use the theater for band events, for choral events, plays and musicals. It's important to ingrain that stuff in children when they're young. Not that we want to push it on them, but to give them that experience and then to have them develop it as they become older so that they can appreciate a great diversity of live entertainment.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, that is huge. And part of why Wizard of Oz is a little near and dear to our heart is our son has played in Pinckney Players before, and not this past summer, but the summer before, that was what their kids program was going to be. So they were supposed to be able to put that on. And obviously that didn't happen, and it's disappointing, but it makes it kind of exciting to be able to get out there and see it on the stage.
Yeah, he's very excited to go see it. He was in Alice in Wonderland with the Pinckney Players. So it kind of got him the bug a little bit, and he's really enjoyed anything he can get involved to be able to see that and such. So that'll be really good.
And I think there was a friend that was involved in Pinckney Players, and before that, I had never even heard of it. And our son, he liked tennis, and he was just, video games, that kind of kid. It's like, hey, I want to, get involved in this theater company. And it's like, wow, I didn't know anything about this. And so that's really, to your point, Ken, it really gives some opportunities to our kids to experience some new things.
And it's so nice that you guys do have that education piece, being connected with the Brighton Public Schools and such, to be able to have those acts that come in, have a little bit of an opportunity to teach as well.
Well, if I can mention that it's not just Brighton schools that we try to have educational elements with. I think Diane can tell you that we've brought in Howell schools and others. So if some school heard that we're having some educational element with Moxie Strings and they said, look, we really want to bring a class in, is it possible? We try to work with them. If it's Pinckney schools or Heartland schools, we try to work with them because it's not just Brighton schools that we want to entertain and educate. It's any school system.
And I believe this year for Holiday Pops, we're going to have both Howell and Brighton high school choirs attending and participating in the sing-along, which is one of the favorite parts of many of our patrons.
Right.
And this is just great community outreach. It just is phenomenal to hear, and nice that you're so connected.
Well, I think it's very important, but it's as Diane mentioned very, very early on in the podcast, it's the mission of the theater. And so we're dedicated to community, but we're dedicated to live entertainment, and it's not split. It's like one thing.
Great, yeah, because there's so many options that people that don't have kids or the kids have long since grown up can still come and enjoy and appreciate. And
yeah, we do try to do as many field trips as possible with the acts that we bring in. And so even if there's not a hands-on workshop, they can come and see like a very shortened version of the show. And, with the complications of COVID that we've had, we're hoping that that's something we can start implementing again this year,
right? Being
that we couldn't do it last year.
And I think, it makes people appreciate just, I don't know about anybody else. I kind of took things for granted. And now, as we're scheduling to go see Wizard of Oz, I'm just excited to be able to do that. It's just a whole silver lining, I guess.
We're hearing that from our guests, that they're just happy to be in a theater again.
Right.
And some of them haven't even been to a cinema yet. They haven't even seen a feature film. So when people walk in like, oh, yeah, I remember this place. It's just great to be in a theater. Or I've never been in here. This is a great theater, and it's the first time I've been in any theater for a live thing in 2 years. We hear that, but we also hear it from cast members, from like Second City. It was their first time on the road in a couple of years. And so they were just excited to be in a theater. They're jumping around. They were really having a good time as cast members. So we get that from people on your side as well as our side of the curtain.
Right. And I know you guys said the bond was in 1994, you said, right?
Yes.
So in that time, how have you seen the local arts community? What impact do you think? I mean, because that was a big investment to bring the Brighton Center for Performing Arts and to have that bond and to say, we're going to build this, state-of-the-art theater. So what impact do you think, how has it grown over the years?
Well, I think it's grown just in the quality of people that we can bring in. Bringing in John Tesh or Cody Fry that are used to being in very large venues, very large theaters. And we always get compliments from people that come to visit us. Amy Grant had wonderful things to say about our theater, and that's what really makes me feel good knowing that we can provide this venue for them and to the community. So we've seen that growth, being able to bring in the acts that are the highest quality available here in Livingston County, as well as just being able to provide that educational element and bringing the students in.
So when the theater was built, it was one of the, if not the premier theater in the entire area. And I did, a long time ago, I've done a lot of events, but in the Detroit area, I've worked all the major theaters, and I used to hear about the Brighton Center there. Like, hey, I heard that in your county you have a new theater and it's supposed to be fantastic. And so we would promote it a little bit, like, yeah, you got to come and see one of our things. We're working one of your things. But over the course of the 27, I think, years now that the theater has been operational, we've not only increased the number of events in there, but we've increased the quality as much as possible, while having an eye on ticket price. So if we wanted to bring in, I don't know, Rolling Stones, it's just not possible. That they might want to do a smaller venue, but we couldn't afford them. We look for acts that are available. We look for acts that we could bring into the community at an affordable price, but then to give the highest quality experience to anybody in the community who wants to come in. And that started with Tom Mitchell, who was the first director of the theater. It started with the first board members. Like, we want to have this, one of the premier theaters in the area. Over the course of all the years that it's been around, we've tried to upgrade the theater as much as possible. So we went from some conventional lighting that was around, conventional audio equipment that was around whenever I started doing this decades ago. And we've now upgraded to all LED fixtures except for a few. So we've tried to upgrade those sorts of technologies. We've gone to digital technologies for audio, upgraded all kinds of things around the theater to try to keep up with the technology, which is very difficult and expensive. But we tried to do that to, again, give the highest quality experience to our audience and to our school as possible. We continue to do that. So from the first director up to my tenure, we're trying to have the best theater, the best quality equipment at the highest level possible.
Oh,
Fantastic. And I'll bet you there's a lot of people in the community that may not even be aware of it. So that's why we were excited to have you guys today to get the word out, because
Right.
that's a very big deal.
yeah, because we moved out to Livingston County in 2002.
Okay.
And, coming out here, we didn't know much about the community. And we definitely didn't know about the Brighton Center for the Performing Arts. But the first time you go there, you see it online, you're like, oh my gosh, this is right here. And they're bringing who in? And then to be able to come in and go in there, it's so much more than what you think it is from the outside. And that's what impacted us. We're like, wow, this is really professional. This is really nice. And I think that was great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's I'll pass that on to a couple of people. They'll be happy to hear that from new people in the community.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. Well, I also wanted to touch on, we were talking about community involvement and so forth, but obviously in terms of volunteers, are there any opportunities for people to get involved or?
Only a lot.
Yeah.
So I last week, I believe it was last week, I got an email from a person who had just moved in. This person has experience acting and singing and wanted to know, are there any things at the Brighton Center where I could act and sing, where I can get involved? And immediately I said yes. So contact me. Again, we'll have a meeting. We'll do that sort of thing. We get people who come in and say, my kid is now in the drama program. I used to do that sort of thing whenever I was in high school, and I know how to do lighting work. Is it possible for me to volunteer for my kids' productions? We get people who want to be ushers. Diane can talk to you about that. We get people who want to be ushers, people who want to help with hospitality. So when groups come in, we often provide a meal. So again, Amy Grant and Second City, they have a meal before they go on stage. We provide drinks and snacks to keep up their sustenance. Those are all volunteer activities. There are many more. So if somebody came in and they wanted to do a particular thing, one of us would target them to the correct people, if it's not one of us two, to help them find a way to work in the theater and provide support for all the activities that we have. Maybe you want to talk about ushers and other kind of activities that people can get involved in?
That's the main one. People need to know where their seats are. So, we do have a committee that works on ushering, and they've got to have each show lined up prior to the show. And so if they don't have enough ushers, it's very challenging to get our patrons seated. So ushering is huge, as well as you mentioned the hospitality. And sometimes you even get to meet some famous people if you work back there and, help set up the food and all of that. So, those are critical things to running the theater. And if we didn't have help, there's no way the two of us could manage everything. And we are very light staffed as far as paid people on staff. You're looking at them, with a few. I mean, we have wonderful crew that's been students for within our school, and they're wonderful, and they've stayed on. We have some that are college students now that have stayed with us. But besides that, everything else is volunteer. So if anybody out there is interested in helping out with the theater, please contact us.
So all of that is, in a way, it's kind of free activity, meaning people can come in and they can volunteer, they can have fun, they can enjoy things with their children, and I think it's a very important thing to do with family. Your kid might be out there singing, you're backstage pulling the ropes for things to go up and down on the stage, but you're in an activity with your kid in the theater, and that's very important. But the other side of this is that we constantly need support from sponsors. And that could be $10. You just send in $10 and I just wanted to help. Or it could be $10,000 from a major company. So we're always looking for sponsors. We're always looking for ways that companies can help us afford to keep the theater going, afford the fine acts that come in. And we have levels of support to provide some things to these sponsors. So we can give them some advertising in our brochures. We have TV monitors right now that are on in the lobby, displaying what our sponsors, what level our sponsors are at, for example. So we can give back to them in certain ways, but they're certainly absolutely essential to keeping the theater going and keeping these fine acts coming in. So if any sponsors out there would like to help us, even in a very small way, a very large way, please contact either Diane or I using all the contact information that's on our website, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
Well, that's great, because I think, volunteering, even sponsoring and such, I mean, those are such important activities, and I agree with you so much with the whole family aspect and being able to get kids involved early and having that activity with them. Like I said, one of our sons really likes theater. The other one is really into film and all of those aspects of it. And I just think, you start them off at that early age, and then those people become not only the patrons that want to go to those events, but eventually maybe that sponsor or benefactor that's helping out at that end. And it's just, it's a wonderful, professional but grassroots organization as well to be able to do that.
Yeah, chances are everybody involved is all very local, very Livingston County.
Absolutely.
I know I was moving a lot of props around when he was in the Pickney Players.
Yeah.
And I was amazed at how many things that they were asking us to do to make sure that those things went off without a hitch. So, you kind of get thrown into the deep end a little bit to learn those things. And that's a great activity as well.
Absolutely.
Well, we will expect to have your help when your students are old enough to be in the high school musical, because that's when you really get involved.
There you go. Yep.
This is true. Ours are, they're 11th grade, 8th grade, and 5th grade.
Yep.
So we've got all ages.
Yes, our 5th grader, she's over at Maltby, and she's in choir this year. So I'm sure she loves that. She'll be moving her way through and be over there sooner or later.
And she will be in the Brighton Center. I know that the choir is going to perform in the Brighton Center. So yes, absolutely.
I guess on the calendar that the choir teacher kind of went through. And so just such a great resource, a great opportunity. And in speaking of the county, what do you guys like best about Livingston County?
Oh, gosh.
I think it's a really, unless you know about the Brighton area or Howell, unless you know about the area, you really don't know how much is available out here. There's all kinds of parks, huge wildlife areas with trails. Where I live is just a couple of miles from downtown Brighton, but it's a zoo. There's all kinds of animals that are in our front yard. I had 2 fawns that were sleeping right in front of our home the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
All kinds of these sort of outdoor activities with parks nearby, biking and swimming, and all kinds of lakes nearby for boating and that sort of thing. But also, all you have to do is drive down Main Street in Brighton, drive down Grand River in Howell, And there's all kinds of restaurants, all kinds of other activities to do in various buildings. And they're small communities, but they feel very large whenever you actually see what's out here.
Yeah, my husband and I are transplants as well, but we've been here for about 15 years. And just the sense of community, you can't beat it. I just feel like it's a family here, you know, with the school district and the activities and all of the things that are available for families to do. It's just incredible.
Awesome. We love hearing this. And it's very similar to some of the things each of our guests. We always ask that. And that's what we found as well, that people are friendly. And it's
and there's so many new things coming in all the time. I mean, just a couple years ago, they started that splash pad at Bishop Lake that the kids love to go out to during the summer and such. So, I mean, they're always coming up with something new. And like you said, restaurants and such, and lots of festivals out this way. So it's a wonderful community.
Yeah. Now, one question I wanted to make sure to still ask is, we noticed on your website that sometimes it can be rented out, and we wondered, what does it get rented out for, or how does it happen?
Question.
Yeah, so I get calls all the time, and actually, since the theater had been shut down for a while and many theaters still aren't open, I'm continuing to get calls from all kinds of groups who want to rent the theater. So anybody who wants to rent the theater, go to the Brighton Performing Arts website, and there's a tab at the very top that says rental. There is information on there on how to rent the theater. If you've never rented a theater before, it could be very intimidating, but I can make it very easy for them. Any sort of event. I've had political groups call me and they just want to do a speech. The Brighton Fire Department comes in and they rent the theater. Any sort of group can come in and rent it. And it doesn't have to be a professional activity at all. It could be a church, all kinds of events. And so we can get contacted. Diane, if Diane gets contacted about a rental, she'll pass that information on to me. The rental information, again, is on, the fundamental information is on the website for how much per hour. There are nonprofit groups that'll get a little bit of a price break. We have all the staff necessary to put on virtually any sort of activity. Diane mentioned our fine crew, so we could put on almost any kind of activity. We can help people along. We have all kinds of equipment. So on that website, again, under rentals, is a technical document that lists all of the equipment in the theater. And so if you're pretty tech savvy and you want to know if I have a particular kind of audio board, you can check that out. And if you want to know if we have chairs because you just want to do a speech, all of that is on there. So a lot of people will check out the website to the photographs on there to see what it looks like, the technical equipment, that sort of thing, and then they contact us. I'm happy to help anybody who contacts us learn about the theater, learn about the space and how it can be used, and if we have the equipment necessary to do what they want to do. My job is to get the picture out of their head and actually put it on the theater.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic.
So it sounds like you've had some pretty interesting people rent it then. Some different types of activities and such. I mean,
anything from as I said, full-scale bands and,
wow.
and singers to orchestra, full orchestra. We have the Brighton Musical, which is really, I think it's just like an off-Broadway musical. The quality of the production, the number of people, the special effects. That's what we have. Cast members that fly on stage, just like in Las Vegas, that sort of thing. We have other groups that come in, like the fire department came in, and they had their honor ceremony for the new cadet graduates. It's a very solemn thing to have new firemen and firewomen who have just graduated from the academy. They also come in and they do an award ceremony at the end of the year and talk about the outstanding firefighters that were in the community. Board meetings. We've had a church group rent for a very long time. They no longer do, but we have church groups. Virtually anything that you could think of, if I say the word diversity, we have had in the theater or will have. So any group that is interested in coming in, please contact us, and we'll do our best to make it happen.
Great.
And we can do ticketing for outside groups and
yes.
put it on our website, as you see for the Wizard of Oz. That
Right.
is an outside group, but we can do the ticketing for them and work with them to get that up. So it makes it nice and easy for people to buy tickets.
So if you don't mind me asking, how many days a year or how many events, I mean, when you're looking at it being rented out and then you're doing these big events that come in and that, how often is the theater in use?
Oh my gosh.
I think it
It's
really
easier
depends.
to say when it isn't in use.
Wow, that's how it sounds, yeah.
There are some months like January and February where it's It's every day, not virtually every day, but actually every day. Wow. Around Christmas, so in December. I think I have one, between the 1st and the 20th, I think there's one day that it's not going to be used. And I've had groups contact me about up from the 20th to the 23rd about it being used. And so right up to the Christmas holiday. Other months, not as many activities, but those tend to fill in a little bit as the year goes on. So May, June, maybe we don't have all of the activities that we will scheduled yet, but it'll get pretty packed as we get closer to April, May, and June.
Wow.
So it's used very, very often.
Wonderful. So anybody having plans, definitely reach out early.
Exactly.
For sure. Great.
Yeah, we actually start scheduling in the winter and in the spring. So by the time Christmas rolls around, Diane and I are already going to be talking about the sponsored events. We'll be looking at next year's football schedule, so we don't interfere with the use of the football stadium when we're having a big event in the theater. We start planning way in advance. With some theaters, sometimes you have to rent them 1 to 2 years in advance. So we try to start months in advance to get most of the activities on the calendar and then fill in as time goes on.
Wow.
That makes sense. A lot of planning involved.
Yes.
For sure. Now, you had mentioned the website, but why don't we make sure that our listeners know what it is? What's the website specifically?
It's BrightonPerformingArts.com.
All lowercase.
Okay, great. And then do you guys have any other media, Facebook, Instagram, anything like that?
We do have a Facebook and we have a Twitter
Oh, great.
Wow.
and an Instagram.
All are easy to find.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, we really want to, is there anything else you guys want to add before we wrap it up here?
I don't think so. I think we've covered all the major topics. So go on the website, look at the shows that are coming up, buy some tickets, or give us a call if you want to use the theater for any activities.
No, we are
Or
definitely.
volunteer and get involved.
Yes, volunteer and
those
get
things.
involved, yes. No, we're very much looking forward to some of the shows you have coming up and seeing what you have coming up in the future. So anyone out there listening, please check them out online. Go to their Facebook page or their website, or in the show notes there, you can see how to contact them. And please also subscribe to our podcast. You can see it on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and just listen to the events and shows coming up. We do have a great show coming up the week after this one where we're going to be talking to Karate's Pizza in downtown Howell. So look forward to that.
Very good. We really try to feature a lot of positive, wonderful things around the community that people don't necessarily know about. So we appreciate that you were able to join us today on our podcast, Welcome to Livingston. And we hope that maybe you guys will become listeners as well sometime.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Everyone have a wonderful day.